Hi guys, Martin Curry from Belief Media. Happy New Year to you. This is the first video of 2025. I would have liked our first video to have talked about some of the successes from those brokers we worked with through 2024 and prior. A large number, or at least a few, reached $1 billion in business volume, which is obviously a huge milestone, and a large number achieved various degrees of hundreds of millions of dollars. So they've all done tremendously well, and we will get to those people. We'll certainly talk to some of those brokers, and within our platinum group as early as this or next week, we'll be talking to some of those guys live, so you can bounce some questions back and forth. We've just gotten back from leave. The first leave we've effectively taken in over 10 years, or at least an extended block of leave we've taken in 10 years. And today is effectively our first day back. However, we did work on bits and pieces while we were away, and that's what I'm going to talk about. We flicked the switch on a new system this morning that adds a layer of protection for malware and abuse. Now, if you're not a client of ours, or if you don't host a website with us, this video is kind of pointless. But if you're interested in what we've done, it's well worth listening to. Our clients, this is important information, and it will impact the way in which your website continues to operate from this point forward. Now, to roll back the clock a bit, last year and the year before, we had a couple of incidents with malware, plugins that weren't updated. They introduced vulnerabilities to our server, and those websites were impacted in various ways. Now, this is always going to happen. It doesn't matter who you are or where you host. A poor plugin design or vulnerable code will always be exploited by those that want to compromise your website or system, usually utilizing your system resources for spam email or some other malicious purpose. And the finance industry can't be exposed to that. Now, in all cases of malware in the past, every single case, it was a result of out-of-date plugins. There is a requirement with us that if you have third-party plugins, they must be updated, and of course they're vetted before us before we allow them to be installed on a server that is designed to support a large number of financial systems, so it's highly protected. Now, those particular vulnerabilities, we patched it. We built a malware API. There's information on that on our website. In fact, if you go to our blog, I think it's 4 posts ago or something. We haven't written much in our blog in the last 6 to 12 months or so because we've applied a focus to building those FAQs, and we're about 25-30% of the way through those. There's about 300 there at the moment, I think. So where was I? Now, vulnerabilities. Okay, so we built the Malware API, and that performed a satisfactory function. It wasn't great, but it was satisfactory. It blocked the most malicious of requests. However, let's talk about crawling and SEO. We all know that Google and Bing and other search engines are going to crawl your website, right? They index a whole bunch of pages and whatever else. The problem with that, and we want that to happen, that's something we need to happen. We need Google and Bing and other important resources to ingest our content in order to then make it available to others. However, there are a large number of crawlers. Now, in the last 6 to 12 months, that has doubled every couple of months. There is over, with all the search functionality on your website, there's over 70 million pages. Right, the Streets module is 15 to 22 million or something. I don't remember the number thus far, but it's a lot of pages, and they're all linked to each other. So if a search engine lands on one Streets page, it's going to follow it and follow it and follow it until it ingests all the others, if for no other reason than to index the page and come back to it later and further evaluate it. Now, the problem with that is it applies a huge strain on the server. Right? It's okay for Google and Bing. We expect that, and we make concessions for that, and we expect it, and we plan for it, and we assign various resources within the system to cater for those search engines. However, recently, we've seen a massive surge in the number of crawlers, and that's consistent with the number of AI applications making its way to market. You have an AI large language model of any type, and it needs to be trained on information. So they just let it loose on the information via a crawler, and it crawls every site indiscriminately. There are a large number of crawlers that just completely and utterly ignore best etiquette or best practice. They ignore robots.txt files, which are there to prevent people from searching certain directories, and they ignore the requirement to throttle themselves, so only index a certain number of pages per minute and so on. This has become an enormous problem for us. Now, this is separate from malware. I'm going to talk about that in a second. I'm just talking about search engines at the moment. That has historically provided, and it's been ongoing, like I said, for the last 12 months in particular, it has provided us with a huge problem. It's put a huge strain on the large number of servers we operate. So we needed a way to mitigate that. Then we built Xena. Xena is a new statistical module that is actioned or fired when someone loads a page on your WordPress website, and it loads a large number of it populates a database with huge numbers of like a huge amount of statistical data. It's very comprehensive and provides all that marketing information you need that isn't available to you via things like the Google analytics and so on. It's a really comprehensive, it's an amazing system. It identifies search traffic and it throttles them. It tries to throttle them. However, they have rotating IP addresses and they continue to hammer the server over and over and over again from multiple locations. And the way Xena works is it identifies a whole bunch of IP addresses. It runs a little algorithm to determine what sort of search engine it is, where it originates, what it does, and where it's from, and so on, and then bans them. However, that proved problematic and it wasn't an ideal solution. So, excuse me. The issue with search crawlers, which is a form of abuse, and I think there are a couple of companies like Ahrefs and SEMrush that are huge culprits. In the last couple of days, they've indexed more than 2 million pages. 2 million pages. You can imagine the strain that puts on the server just to serve a commercial entity so they can then go and sell that data to somebody else. We don't want them on our server. Like it doesn't serve you with any real tangible benefit. All it does, in fact, is it's a problem, because each request that comes through the server is essentially queued, and it's slowing down your site. And we've seen sites progressively get slower and slower and slower as more and more pages are indexed every day. Now, the reality is, and we pulled these numbers just up an hour ago because we only actioned this system at about 9 a.m. this morning. About 1,000 pages are indexed every single minute from multiple sources. 1,000 pages, which is huge. That's 60,000 pages an hour and nearly 1.5 million pages every single day that we've been able to resolve. Right? That represents a huge portion of the traffic that brokers don't get 1.5 million pages to their websites every day. So we're essentially operating a service so we can feed search engines that we don't care about in China and other random places, and bots like SEMrush and Alibaba and Amazon. All these people are indexing every single page regardless of whether our server has instructions to tell these bots not to index certain pages. So what we've done, and this combines with our malware proposition, is we've built and before I talk about that, you're all familiar with, or at least our clients are familiar with, BNet. BNet operates as a service. It's an AI engine we've run for about 10 years plus. It's really developed in the last couple of years since the large language models have become available, and we're able to feed it with more realistic, free text, and actually return really amazing AI-based results. That operates as a service on top of the server. So that's not installed in the plugin or anything else. The plugin just makes available or makes use of those features that BNet provides as a service on the server. And the malware system, and when I say malware from this point forward, you can assume that it includes malicious search engines. And by malicious search engines, I mean those that operate in a dishonorable way, those that don't abide by the instructions that are provided to them. So those that ignore those engines, and Alibaba and SEMrush and Ahref, and there's literally hundreds of them. They just blatantly ignore these instructions for their own commercial gain, which is contrary to your best outcome, which is a fast, efficient website. So what we did is we built a new system, a malware system as a service. Now, we looked at the various commercial options that are available in the market, and we looked at some open source options on GitHub that we are operating in addition to what I'm about to describe, but that's beside the point. And we just decided the easiest way forward was to build something ourselves. And we did that, and we flicked the switch at 9 a.m. this morning. So at the moment, it's blocking about anywhere between 800 and 2,000 requests every minute that don't benefit you in any way whatsoever. That can cause a problem. I'm going to talk about that in a second. Now, when any request comes through, this is a request that gets through our firewall, so is deemed to be acceptable traffic, HTTP or web traffic, and it accesses the web server. So this is traffic that is essentially filtered through, considered to be legitimate. We run another check on that and measure that against a database of millions of addresses, and we run expressions on the actual URL that they are accessing to see if there's any reason to ban that source or not. A lot of people use parameters in a URL just randomly and so on in order to try and guess their way into a vulnerability. So this service now runs for every single incoming request. That provides an overhead. That is an overhead. We run a number of queries, we record a large amount of data and so on. That's problematic. However, the impact of running that service is about less than 1% of actually allowing that traffic through. In fact, it's about 0.2%, the impact. So we just ban anything we deem to be dodgy in any respect. Now, here's the problem, and this is kind of why I'm making this video. It's a very new system. We do not want to ban Google or Bing. All right, we whitelist those IP addresses and their servers and their sources and so on. So we whitelist that data, and we don't block any traffic that is whitelisted. However, there is the possibility that some legitimate sources will be blocked. Very unlikely. It's not going to be consumer traffic. It'll only be search traffic of some type. Now, we're fairly confident that we've addressed the issue with Google search and Bing search. That's fairly easy to identify. However, if you notice that if you've got a high ranking site, and if you notice any change in that over the next week, we urge you to contact us immediately. Text myself or Domenico straight away and let us know so we can investigate and whitelist that and try and resolve why this system hasn't done what it is meant to do. It is very new. It is literally a day old. Not even. It's we've been working on it for a while, but we only actioned the system this morning. It doesn't require a plugin update or anything like that. This system is, like I said, operates as a service, and it evaluates for all web traffic and all FTP traffic and all SSH traffic and so on. So it evaluates all traffic that comes through the server for any reason. Again, once it escapes the firewall, or once it's deemed to be acceptable, we then determine if there's any history of abuse associated with the source, the origin, location, or the construct of the URL itself. Okay, I appreciate you listening to this. If you've gotten this far, it's not really marketing related. It's not going to have an impact on your, bottom line. It's not Facebook related or anything like that, but it is important. We've made this change, obviously, to protect the integrity of the server. And there's a whole other discussion to be had, by the way, when it comes to the work we put into maintaining the integrity of the server, despite the fact you probably saw interruptions in the last couple of days from time to time. We've actually never charged for website hosting. We're probably the only company in the world that effectively or essentially hosts your website for free. That will change. So we're going to bundle that up with various support packages, and after 12 months of having a website with us, you'll have access to different types of services. There's only one thing else to talk about, and that is malware plugins. Right, there's a large number of plugins, WordFence, and others that are made available to the WordPress community, and they will effectively do what I have just described, just not as well, and they're incredibly slow. They're big, bloaty plugins that make requests to third-party servers and so on to assess traffic, and then it returns, a basic binary yes or no, that's good to go or ban it. And it records the data in a fairly clumsy manner. So those plugins and all that sort of stuff is not necessary from this point forward, because our system, which we've worked very, very hard on manufacturing, obviously to, again, preserve the integrity of your site and speed it up, is more effective, and it's more efficient, and it is faster. So you will see over the next couple of weeks, starting today, if you pull up your website right now, it's probably 2 or 3 times as fast. Over the next couple of weeks, as we ban more and more sources, as we identify them, because not everything can be identified out of the box. So what we're doing, I'll tell you what we're doing. Every day we just run a basic script, a shell script that evaluates all the traffic for the day, looks at those sources that might be malicious, because it had more than 5 page views in 5 seconds or something like that. I don't remember the specifics. And it spits all that information back out to us. If it's clearly malicious or clearly a malicious bot, it's not whitelisted, we'll just blocklist it straight away. If it is in grey territory, it returns that to us and we manually evaluate it. And that manual evaluation isn't required very often, but it's something we'll just have to do from time to time now. So that's that, guys. So it is part of the Xena statistical engine, but it is completely disconnected from it. So it is available via API. You can make a whole bunch of requests to see what traffic we're blocking to your site, and how often these search engines are searching, how many pages, and so on. Because it operates as a service and blocks at the HTTP level before your web page loads, that traffic will disappear from Xena, because Xena loads again basically after the page loads fully. So if you're using our statistics module, most of you are, in fact almost all of you are, you will see a massive drop off in traffic, probably 95%, because 95% of all traffic to the server is malicious in some way. It's a big topic, guys, but I hope I've just sort of covered the basics there and given you an idea of what we're doing. It is important. We operate in the financial environment, and certainly from a company that conducts quality assurance audits on companies for their IT and so on, we're kind of obligated anyhow to provide a heightened level of security and service to our own clients. And the software we've just built, by the way, is actually really good, so we may actually make it available as a commercial service for others. If you've got any questions about what I've just discussed, 0400 777 300 is my direct number. I'm available again as of today. And our website, beliefmedia.com.au. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.